Hi, I'm Shelly, and I'm here with Jay. Jay is a two-year student. Jay, what would have helped you to prepare for your academic success before you ever came to college?
A lot of things would have helped me. I think if I would have known more about APA formatting for English, and if I would have been more prepared to write 9 to 10 page papers for English within 1 week, that would have definitely helped me out better in high school, because I was used to writing half a page of paper, maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs. If you get to college, you got to write anything from 1 page to 2 to the maximum could be 20 pages. That could be a lot of pages, so I wish I would have been more prepared for that.
Another thing was in English, we were always taught MLA format. We were never taught APA. And I'm kind of struggling right now to figure it out. I'm having to use resources here on campus, and I feel that, maybe the professors feel that you should already know this. You should have learned this in high school, and I never did.
I am a peer mentor in English 101 and 102, and they're fast-paced, so I've learned that a lot of time management has a lot to do with how the student structures their agenda and their schedule.
Now, when you say fast-paced, how long is that course?
5-week classes.
5-week classes.
Yeah.
So that's a really condensed class from 16 weeks to 5 weeks. Okay.
It can be very intense, but it's a really different way to learn. Another struggle I've seen is how the students, when it comes to thesis statements, how to compose one, how to identify one, how to structure one.
I've noticed that if they don't really understand how they're going to apply this kind of material to real life, they seem to not want to, in a way, complete their homework, or they just need to know why. Okay. And I do tell them that that they need to know this kind of material so they can carry it on to their next Math 091 class. Okay. And so that seems to help them out a little bit.
When I talk about the students and the freshmen, our incoming freshmen, there are some areas that we would like, and it's been expressed in a number of venues, to see more focus on. In writing composition, our incoming freshmen typically score very low in mechanics and also citations. Our students don't know how to access quality resources, and their methodology of citing them, whether it's MLA or APA, is typically lower than what we would like to see.
The first thing that I would like the students to be aware of is the placement test. The placement test becomes something that they just think is part of the process of coming to college. And they don't really realize the value of the placement test and how it can affect their college career. Because the placement test determines where you're going to start in your math, English, and reading classes. So a lot of times if students aren't prepared for the tests, they'll come and take it and think that, well, I was up to calculus in high school, and then they might be placed into an introductory algebra class because they weren't aware of the vocabulary or had forgotten some of the mechanics for maths.
It's important to know that you need to be able to work in teams, work together with other people, because you only get so far on your own, and you need to work together to be able to come up with solutions to problems, whether they're in math or outside of math. Also, it's important that you know that a lot of work goes on outside the classroom, in between classes, that it's not just what you learn in the classroom, that you have to go home and then review your notes and do a lot of work between classes.
What I would love my students to know before coming into my classroom is that they are responsible for their learning. Learning takes place outside of the classroom, and only a fraction of it takes place inside.
Two things that I would like to encourage students coming here on campus. Number one, to be able to have an attitude of learning, and number two, to be able to write and spell. I don't understand if you're in your paper, what LOL would mean, so that might create a problem.
I find that many students come into my classroom and they don't know the proper grammar, they have lots of spelling errors, they don't know where to go for help. If they need to get help on writing skills, doing citations, works cited pages.
Something else too, which seems to be new to a lot of students, is this concept of having their writing being looked over several times before actually turning in the finished product. So when students are coming in, that's usually something that I have to talk to them about, is to make sure that they are engaged in the process of writing and rewriting and editing and improving. Something else that I think is important too is just the whole critical thinking concept. It seems that a lot of incoming students are used to the format of where they're given information, and that their primary objective is to memorize information and kind of regurgitate it instead of to really try to understand concepts, and to be critical thinkers, and to question information, to question data.
The number one area that my students struggle with is in graphing. They are very afraid of it, and we spend a lot of time practicing it, so having some stronger skills with that kind of ties back into the wider mathematical or quantitative areas, where you know, calculating slopes, doing percentages, calculations, and some basic algebra is very helpful for these students. In terms of writing, they oftentimes struggle with the citations, as well as with creating a thesis statement and how that flows all throughout the essay. And I just want to say thank you all for your hard work. We stand on the shoulders of giants.
You know, one of the things about being a reading instructor is that people have this belief that it's like the Ames test. There's only one interpretation of literature. And I find myself constantly, it's a constant struggle of getting people to realize, no, yes, we're all going to read things differently from different angles and perspectives, and that perspective is important. Now, it doesn't fit into a multiple choice test, and it might even be a little messy at times, but the outcomes are well worth it. And what the Common Core provides us is that space to be able to allow kids to interpret and to take risks with their reading and their writing too, and to ask those important higher order skills questions. The time for us to understand that we no longer live those lives where we stay in the same place for 30 years, that we are mobile, is recognized within the Common Core. And what I would tell people who have questions about the Common Core is it's something you have to experience, and it's something you can appreciate when you see your students thrive under it.